do global trade disputes have to do with my retirement? Well, actually, a lot more than you think. Welcome into the show. It's Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. How are my Stonebridge fellows today? Tim Kulhanek, Jeff Gove?
We're hanging in there.
Doing good.
Good. Well, I'm Jackie Selby. It's great to see you both. I always look
Jackie
forward
Selby.
to this every single week. I'm like, this is my show, yo.
This is your favorite one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys make me laugh ridiculously.
You're in the middle because you're the star.
No, you make me laugh because you make fun of me, and that's funny.
We don't do that.
Yes, you
You're thinking of a
once.
different show.
No, sir. You don't have any older sisters, so I guess I'm your older sister. Well, here we
Yeah.
go. I was thinking, do you want to hear a quote from J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon? I always thought it
Sure.
was Diamond, but it's Dimon.
Yeah.
He's talking about
Let it rip.
Yeah, trade, tariffs, all of it.
It doesn't compare to that. The world was massively over-leveraged. There was a mortgage problem. You're going to have half $1 trillion or maybe $1 trillion of actual real problems. The banking system's not that leveraged today, but it's serious. And it was serious before the last election. We have a huge, complex geopolitical situation, huge fiscal deficits, not just here, but around the world, sticky inflation, which I personally think will not go away so quick. And then you have, what's going to happen to tariffs, what's going to happen to trade.
What do you think about that? I like that statement, sticky, instead of recession or depression, a sticky economy, Jeff Gove.
Well, I thought we just heard that inflation is transitory again.
Oh boy, here we go.
I mean, that's what we heard a few weeks ago. Is it changed now? It's here to stay.
I don't know. He should know. He controls a lot of money, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, and I don't think, in fairness, it wasn't him that said that, but it
Okay.
was somebody that carries some weight, I do believe.
Well, he was on Fox Business, and he was talking about what we should be aware of going forward into this type of an economic climate. And we talked about that on the last 3 shows, for sure, but the trade war ripple effect, I guess, is now one of those things they say on the news over and over. It's going to have a ripple effect. I could use a trip to the lake. Anyway, don't get me started. You guys are moving down to the lake in a few weeks, aren't you? Gove?
Moving to the lake, I wish. No, we'll spend some weekends there. Hopefully.
Oh, okay. All right. But you guys go down and park your little hootenanny mobile with the tent thing that opens up. What's it called?
Yep.
A Winnebago
tent.
attachment?
A yurt. He's got a yurt.
I've got a yurt. Yeah.
Well, do either one of you want to talk about the ripple effect? I mean, of course, we're going to have some volatility. We've already talked about clients and potential clients having a freak out effect over the volatility, and you gave some great ideas on how not to get pulled under the water with that, like taking a walk.
Yeah, we did.
Having a bath, turning off the news.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty remarkable how sensitive the market's been to the news. I mean, there was a couple really bad days with what you could call bad news when he came out with, the list of tariffs, and then volatility went the other way. I mean, it was still volatile, but the market went the other way. On a day where there was some good news, but it wasn't all good news. He also increased the tariffs on China, and they're going back and forth.
China.
So it wasn't all good news, but
Yeah.
that day the S&P 500 went up almost 10%.
Right.
So, yeah, it's amazing how reactive the market is to the news. But it's a really good example, and we talk about this all the time, of why you need to have a plan that you can stick with. Because if you would have got scared those 2 days where the market went down a lot and pulled out, you would have missed a almost 10% upside in one day. So I think things are going to continue to react the way they have. So it's important to stick with your plan, keep your money in the market, as long as you have a plan that you trust and that you're comfortable sticking with.
Mm-hmm. This is really good stuff. I was watching. By the way, you're listening to Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge. Their number is 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. I was watching an article, and they were talking about how people were rushing to buy new cars a few days ago because they were expecting a tariff increase, 25 to 30% more for their little Mazda or whatever they were buying. I mean, this is the ripple effect, and it's just not true, is it?
Jackie, you better go get your van.
I know. I need my van sometime soon.
I mean, I think like I don't want to give people the wrong impression. Prices certainly go up when you've got tariffs, because tariffs mean you got to pay more for your cost of goods, right? So your cost of goods sold goes up. So if you're a producer, right, and you're manufacturing basically anything, if the inputs in your product come from overseas, even if you manufacture the product here in the United States, you're still having to get those other materials. And this is one of the big reasons why you hear the administration talk about rare earth minerals, right? A whole lot is because they want to have access to the components that go into a lot of the things that are built. We have mainly, some people realize this or not, we have mainly a consumer, like a service-based economy today. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but back in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, that was a very manufacturing goods-based economy where we built stuff, and the main way that the economy was driven was people were buying to buy. They were spending to buy things, and today they're spending for services. So it could be professional services. That's like what Jeff and I do. Legal services would be included in professional services. It could be services to have somebody build something for you, to fix something for you, right? Your plumber, your electrician, all those are more service-based types of items. And it's because we've already accumulated a lot of things. More people have stuff. And so, like, when you compare what it means to be, wealthy in America versus wealthy in other countries, or poor in America versus poor in other countries, it's not even close. I think there was a recent study that said, or not even a study, a report that suggested, I think, and we'll look this up at the break, but the average, low income earner in China makes like $6 a day or something like that, right? For the entire day, not an hour, but for the entire day. And so I think when we're talking about some of these things, and we get into where we're talking about a global type of dynamic, we have to realize that, yes, things are uncertain right now. So you're going to have to contend with market volatility. You're going to have to contend with prices going up. Market volatility, that goes hand in hand with corporate profits. Those can get squeezed in an environment like this, because if Nike has to pay, $20 to make Air Jordans instead of 10, well, then they're probably going to pass that cost along. They have two options. They can either eat that and their profits will go down, or they're going to pass that along to the consumer to maintain their profit margin. And that means our prices go up. So there's that inflation piece of it. So regardless of what it is, like Jeff said, it comes down to like the KISS principle, keeping it simple, making sure you have cash reserves, making sure that you have a properly diversified portfolio, not getting that herd mentality that like 99% of investors do. I was at the Morning Hope in the Morning breakfast the other morning, and it was a great program. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Morning Hope, great organization. I recommend you go check them out. Do a lot of good here, not just in our community in Lincoln, in our state in Nebraska, but really across the country and even across the world to an extent. And, I was sitting next to a gal who's also a financial advisor, and his name was Cheryl, and had a really nice visit with her. And, we both kind of agreed that, hey, one of our biggest roles as financial advisors and financial counselors is really that word counselor comes into play more than, stock picker or something like that. It's really not about sitting in front of a wall of screens trying to figure out, where the, opportunities are in a day-to-day type of environment, so we can try to take some arbitrage opportunity because there's a disjointment here within some sort of security or sector. It's more about, hey, let's build a plan that's designed to work, and then let's help people stick to that plan so they don't become their own worst enemy. And that's what Jeff and I and our team of experienced advisors do on a day-to-day basis, and keep folks from being that kind of saboteur of their own plan. I've had people call. I got an email this morning as we're recording this, and somebody's like, well, with our accounts down as much as they are, we've just been getting shellacked here this year, so we want to stop taking our distributions. We're gonna tighten the belt, and we're gonna change our lifestyle. And this isn't something I recommended to them. This is them unilaterally saying that. And so I was at a chiropractic appointment when I got that message, and I was just like curious. So I looked up their accounts. Jeff, how much do you think they're down year to date? More than 10% or less?
Less.
More than 5 or less?
Less.
Yeah, 2.8%.
I was going to say 3% maybe.
Yeah. So keep it in perspective. Everybody who I've had in, Jeff and I do a lot of reviews in the spring and the fall. And I don't know about you, Jeff, but everybody I've had in, like yesterday, I was meeting with Don and Rita, and they're awesome. I love those guys. And I went through everything. When I showed him how things have been going, I said, that's probably a lot better than you thought it was going to be, wasn't it? And he was just kind of like, slowly, he's like, yeah, I can't believe it. Like, that's compared to what I'm hearing on the news, this is way better. So again, you want to make sure you have somebody who's communicating this with you, somebody who you know, like, and trust, and somebody who at the end of the day is going to be a good partner with you, because that's really what we are here at Stonebridge. Is this is a partnership. You're the CEO. We want you to be able to focus on the things that matter and hire us to be that personal financial CFO. And you can do that by doing what, Jackie? What was it?
Call. There's a number, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Call Stonebridge Wealth Systems. Get on the calendar. Doesn't matter where you live, they're going to help you. If you can hear this on the radio, they can come to you or you can come to them. They have a wide reach, spanning the Midwestern globe, 866-295-5146. To reach Stonebridge, be right back.
Is your retirement being eaten up by financial termites like hidden fees, inflation, and avoidable taxes? Call today for a complimentary financial review so we can help you root out these retirement killers.
We're so glad to have you listening to the show today, Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. I'm the luckiest girl because I got these two clowns. Who are really good at making me look ridiculous. Jackie Selby with Tim Kulhanek and Jeff Gove. I bring that up because you always ask me questions I have no idea the answer. So now I play a guessing game in my head. What is he expecting me to say? And then I do the opposite. Okay. Earlier, Tim Kulhanek, in the last segment, you were talking about what America is doing and what they're investing in and what we're spending our money on. And in the 50s, 60s, et cetera, it was all about building up. The baby boomers are building their families, right? They're buying houses. They're buying cars made out of steel. So the economy was a manufacturing kind of an economy. And now we're a services kind of an economy because we already have a bunch of houses. I'm not saying we have all the houses we need. Ask the new HUD secretary. But I digress. But I really like that. That's a really good perspective on what's going on with America. And here we are working away, and we want to have a retirement. We don't want to have to keep working. What was that movie that they talk about, the big retirement ripoff or whatever it was? Retirement Deception or something a couple years ago?
Well, there's one that is really good that we're going to be showing. I think, Jeff, we're still planning to do that here this year, possibly,
so. Yeah.
Perhaps. And it was called The Baby Boomer Dilemma.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh.
Yeah. And it's shocked. And the thing I like about it is that, it's not a bunch of salespeople trying to persuade people to, like, buy a certain product because they're going to get paid to do it. It's mainly, you've got David Walker in there, former Comptroller General of the U.S. government. You've got a bunch of professors from like MIT and Wharton and very, very like prestigious types and reputable universities who are saying, look, this is just the math side of it. I don't want to get into the opinionated side of it. This is the math, and it's not the political side of it. It's like the reality is essentially what happened in the 1970s in the United States is Congress passed a bill called the ERISA Act, and it was the Employee Retirement Income Security Act. But like everything, I mean, I'm not making this up, just cherry picking. I say this with everything the government does. You just have to look at the name. If you want to know what it doesn't do, just read the name of the bill, right? And you'll know what it doesn't do. So ERISA, Employee Retirement Income Security Act, did the exact opposite. Secure, setting every community up for retirement enhancement, did the exact opposite. And I'm not even saying that to be cheeky or like
mean-spirited
teasing.
or anything.
No, it literally does the exact opposite. So what did ERISA do? It was the birthplace, essentially, in 1974. I think they added Section 401, Paragraph K to the Internal Revenue Code. And what that was is it created this environment where all of a sudden you had these big companies, these big employers, Hughes Aerospace, Boeing, were just like a few of the early adopters of those that started adopting these 401k plans, and it was sold as, hey, well, guess what's going to happen, right? So we're going to have this supplemental plan that's going to supplement your pension, your defined benefit plan. So defined benefit means they're defining the amount you're going to get every month in retirement. That's a pension. And then defined contribution is like when we're going to define the amount that you put in, and maybe we'll put some in too as either a match or a profit share. but essentially what that means is it shifted the responsibility for retirement income security from that of the employer and the government, if you want to count Social Security, onto the shoulders of the people least qualified to be responsible for that very, very important task, which was the rank and file employees, right? And so eventually, one by one, those companies, it didn't turn out to be what they sold it as, which was supplemental. It turned out that turned into the only plan, where today only 11% of private company employees are participating in a defined benefit pension plan. And so that's one of the reasons why you have movies like The Baby Boomer Dilemma, which is talking about the retirement income security crisis that was caused by, essentially, I'm not blaming all of it on that, but in large part, the Retirement Income Security Act. So again, if you want to know where the blame lies here, a lot of it has to do with the folks that, we've elected to represent us. And even if it was one of those, good intentions, unintended consequence scenarios, in either case, it really has had devastating effects. So that's one of the reasons why Jeff and I do what we do. And it's a big reason why we do this show, is because we need to get this information out to folks so they know that, hey, there's some things that have changed and you need to be aware of them. But the good news is that there's some solutions that are available to help bridge that gap between the retirement that you're seeking and your current station in life, where you're at as far as your retirement goes.
It is funny. Maybe some people do think you're sitting at your desk, all of you at Stonebridge, with this wall of TV screens and buy, sell, all that hecticness of the picture that we imagine at the New York Stock Exchange or something. But that really isn't what you do. You do so much counseling to help people understand what's available to them, Jeff.
Yeah, and I think what Tim said is really important. And we try to look at the positives in this, because some of those changes that they made could be positives if you do it right. The problem, kind of to Tim's point, is you have to do it on your own. So you better make the right decisions and the right choices along the way, because if you don't, you could be really short in retirement. But some of the benefits of having that defined contribution plan is, instead of the defined benefit plan, would be you have a pot full of money when you retire that if you do it right, it'll take you through retirement, but also you're leaving a lump sum to your beneficiaries. So that could be a great thing. Where the defined benefit plan, a lot of times you're not leaving anything to your beneficiaries. It's paying you while you're living, and maybe an income stream to kids for a few years or something like that, depending on how you do it. But like I said, it could be a really good thing. The problem, again, is that you're expected to do it alone. That's why we have a job. That's why Tim and I are here, is to help guide you, to help you make those decisions. Put together your own pension plan. Put together your own defined benefit plan, so you can have that mailbox money every month where, I've got my Social Security coming in, and I've got this other income that's coming in that's going to help me retire the way that I want to. But by the way, I also have this other nest egg over here that's going to grow, help me cover inflation, some of those things in the future.
Use this number, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146, and you can just make a little appointment. You can call it an appointment, a meeting, a sit-down, no cost, no obligation, to talk to Stonebridge and see if this is something that's making sense to you as you approach retirement, in retirement. I know that in your book of clients, in other words, your friends or whatever you call your clients, I know that you guys end up being friends with so many people. Anyways, they don't see you as a banker type or a asking you to sign something type, right? You guys help. You provide a service.
I think so,
Don't
but
you, Tim?
we demand loyalty.
Yes.
Okay. There's a test that has to be done.
I think you get it.
Is that the hot coals, those types of things?
Yeah, cool moss.
Yes, you must go across here and be loyal to us. But it's a beautiful thing to have somebody on your side. The whole idea of trying to DIY this, it's a lack of education, because nobody tells anybody anything. And people who are right in the financial red zone, or even this wave of people turning 65, peak 65, maybe they have never been told that somebody could help them. They just see it as, oh, he's trying to make money off me. But that's really, in truth, not the truth.
In truth, it is not the truth.
Right. I mean, my sister, for example, when I first started working with you guys, I'm like, oh, man, I'm learning all this stuff. And, right, I want to learn this, learn that. She goes, isn't it just taking money from one place to another and putting it somewhere else?
Yes, she got us.
Yeah, but with what benefit?
Dang it. It was that simple.
I mean,
Yeah.
so
Click, nah. See you guys later.
Dano got a message from a guy. Well, actually, it was a phone call, and it was kind of wild. But essentially, the guy said, oh, well, where were you guys when I was starting out? I could have used a bunch of help when I was new and didn't know how much to save or what account to save it in. And, now that I got all this money accumulated, because I did, I was disciplined and I did the hard work. Now you come calling, where were you 30 years ago? And he said that. I thought to myself, I think Dano was 2. So he was a toddler. And Jeff and I was probably in 3rd grade or 4th grade. So he's got a good point. So here's the thing. We're talking about the 401k earlier, right? And the reality is it is a lousy place to get advice because all the companies are because of the society we live in, it's so litigious. All the companies are so reticent they want to avoid any liability at all costs. Mm-hmm. They just won't give you advice. And so that's the number one complaint I hear. And so when people say, well, where were you? It's like, well, I'm here now. And I can't change the fact that I wasn't here 30 years ago. I don't know how much advice you want to take from 8-year-olds, but or 9-year-olds, but it's available, I guess. Probably not financial advice, but we even tried. To be completely transparent, Jeff and I tried getting in that space, the 401k space years ago. What we found is it's dominated by a few really big companies that basically are. I mean, the margins on it are so small because it's all about the employer doesn't really care what advice. You could be there every day trying to give advice to folks. The employer's like, I just want it to be as cheap as possible to limit my liability. I just want zero liability. Okay.
The employer says that. Yeah.
The employer says that, and the company itself is just like, well, we're not going to give them advice. And to make matters worse, if we're being completely transparent about it, I would show up at these companies and I'd be there at 8:30 in the morning, and I'd send a sign-up sheet a week in advance for people to come in and meet with the 401k guy, right? Uh-huh. So that way we could have a talk about what their finances really look like and try to put them in the best position to be successful. And I'd maybe have 10 people sign up. How many do you think actually showed up for their meeting?
2.
None. Oh. None. I'd be there all day. I'd be there from 8:30 to 4, and I'd sit there by myself.
Oh,
and
no.
Then, they'd be upset well, you're never here. I am here. Every 6 months, I'm here for 8 hours, and you guys don't come in and see me. And so to an extent, I would put that back on the person who told Dana, where were you? Well, why wasn't the next 40 years of your financial life important enough for you to come sit down with somebody for an hour, or in that case, probably for 20 minutes, just to make sure you were putting enough in? So then you get to retirement and you're like, oh, I can't. The guy goes into Jeff. I don't know if you remember this, Jeff. He was over in GI. And the guy says, well, how am I looking for retirement? And you thought he was joking because he had $40,000 in his 401k, and he's like, no, I really mean it. Well, not good. I'm sorry. Not good at all, because this is less than 1 year of your salary. It's just not going to work unless you can live on Social Security alone. This doesn't look very good at all. And so, it does take, believe it or not, some personal responsibility. We're here to help. We're eager to help. And if folks are hearing that message and they're like, well, man, he seems pretty demanding. I was joking about the Clint Eastwood Blood Brothers thing from Josie Wells. Okay, we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is we're going to make sure there's open communication. And so you understand that the expectations are if something happens in your life and changes your financial situation, we need to know about it so we can correct it. And we'll do that when
you call and sit down. 866-295-5146. Call Stonebridge. All right, Stonebridge Wealth Systems, 866-295-5146. This is the Retirement Compass Radio Show.
As Americans, we strive for better. From a better house to a better career to a better life for our children and grandchildren. Better has become the American way. When it comes to your retirement, what does better mean to you? Does it mean more income, a flexible lifestyle, better solutions? A better retirement begins with a financial plan. To get your complimentary written financial plan, call the number you see here. You only retire once. This is your opportunity to plan for better.
So glad to have you here on Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems, especially on KRVN 880 Rural Radio, because it is corn planting season. Who is in their tractor right now, getting it done, listening to the radio show? Have you guys ever been on one of those big honking things going up and down the tractor?
Yeah, I got to, Rod, if you're listening, I got to ride along with one of my clients last year.
How fun.
And it was really cool. I mean, you don't even have to touch the steering wheel. It's like it does all the work. It tells you what nutrients are needed. It plants a very specific amount of seed. It's pretty incredible, the technology.
That is it even knows how many kernels to land down there in the little slot?
Yeah, how many kernels? Yep.
That's really neat. Obviously, I need to that ride along to educate myself.
Yeah.
So when you talk to him, say that, hey, I've got a real greenhorn that wants to ride along sometime.
Here, let me see if I can get this to go. This is my daughter's riding in a tractor. One's terrified, and one's driving. She's got her hands on the steering wheel, and he's like, "No, look straight ahead." And she's just smiling for the camera. It's going all over the place.
How cute.
Yeah.
Listen to her little voice. Yeah.
She does turn. She does turn. So, yeah, it's fun. I mean, the reality is right now is kind of a tough time for everybody. You know, farmers are looking at both grain prices and price of cattle, and they're thinking, well, I don't know how well I feel about this, but planning for them is no different. You know, ask a farmer what your risk tolerance is. They say, they'll look at you and be like, did you hear me say I'm a farmer? I might not be. I might have a shirt next time you see me because the things can swing so violently, you know. And that's just the reality of it. Is it's a high risk endeavor, and you got to make the most of the good years. And I think the thing that Jeff we've talked about a lot is you got to reframe. Like, yeah, we don't want to pay taxes, but a lot of times our ag clients are more prone to say, hey, in order to not pay taxes, I'm going to buy more equipment, right? Or I'm going to put up a bin. Or, get some vehicles and some farm trucks and that sort of thing. But, like, you don't necessarily always just want to put your money into depreciating assets. Sometimes it makes sense to put your money away in some sort of financial vehicle. So that way, if you get tired of being in a tractor or a combine for several hundred hours every fall, like, maybe you have something to fall back on that's not just, hey, I guess I because a lot of them, they're 78 years old, 79 years old, and they're like, I don't know how to stop. Well, that's why you call us, is because we can have that off-ramp for you to make sure that you can stop and know that you're going to be okay.
That's beautiful. Wow. That is just beautiful. You guys aren't laughing. All right.
We'll let you hang on that one.
I'm just trying my best to get you to react. It's not easy. Dry sense of humor, fellas. Now, here's the number to reach Stonebridge. Stonebridge Wealth Systems, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. What percentage do you think you have of ag clients there at your office? In Lincoln, Mr. Kulhanek.
In Lincoln, well, technically since my father-in-law bought Lenny and Hattie a bucket calf, I mean, I live with some cattle ranchers, okay? So I'm surrounded by ag folk.
I love it. That's so cute.
His name's Olga.
Olga.
Yeah. And she's just right out of she was brand new when we saw her. She was a week and a half old, right?
my goodness.
So she had a little of the colostrum, and then it was back onto the bottle. So whenever we're back there, they go see Olga, and they'll feed her a bottle.
Oh.
How are they going to do when the day comes?
That's why we're members of PETA.
All right, here's the number, 866-295.
People eating tasty animals.
866-295-5146. 866-295-5146.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Hey, welcome back to the show. This is Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge. They want to get you to where you want to go in your retirement. Stonebridge Wealth Systems, spanning the globe of the Midwest. Wherever you need help, they are going to help you. Jackie Selby here. Jeff Gove in the Kearney office. Tim Kulhanek in the Lincoln office. I did a couple of weeks ago enjoy having Jeff, your brother, Jeremy Gove on. He was pretty serious, pretty good guy. And then also Murdoch the Dark, Eli Mardok. Sorry.
Yeah.
His name is like from a, video game or something.
It's also from the Bible.
Oh, yeah, then there. The Eli part, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's pretty trippy with his black glasses and his dark beard. Musician fella who took up finances somewhere along the line.
Yeah, both those guys are actually doing a really, really good job. Those guys they're all stars. So
yeah. How about the unexpected upside of a bumpy ride as we near retirement? How about that? Potential for higher future returns, and then on the way down, oh no, we need some rebalancing. Weren't you mentioning that this is a good time of the year, Tim, for rebalancing the fall and the spring, people's portfolio? Well,
I mean, it could be, but I was more referring to the fact that we do our reviews in the fall and the spring because people don't want to come into Stonebridge in the summertime, and to be honest, there's just a lot going on,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Jeff's going to be in Branson, or at the lake.
That's a lake.
And there's lakes at both places, so you never know. He'll be at a lake, but he likes to kind of ride incognito, so you don't know which one. You just got to visit every single lake to find out where Jeff is, and then he'll see you and have no idea who you are. There's a lot of truth to that too.
I shut off my work mind when I go to the lake.
Yeah, right.
People come up to you and go, "Hey, Jeff."
But you look awful familiar. Can tell you that much.
Okay. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, so it's a little funny, but rebalancing. Here's why you want to rebalance. Okay,
yeah, please.
So look at what the market did in 23 and 24, right? But it was mainly big tech stocks. So your portfolio got bigger and bigger allocation to big tech stocks. So by the end of 2024, the top 10 stocks in the S&P 500 comprised 37% plus, like 37.14 or something like that, percent of the index. So that means that the rest of the other 493 or 490, I guess I said top 10. So the other 490 got just over 60%, right? So the point is you had a very, very high concentration of your portfolio was dependent on the performance of really 10 really big, primarily tech companies. The one exception there being Berkshire Hathaway. So the reason you'd want to rebalance, and one of the reasons why we saw a pretty substantial slide, I think, in kind of opening the year there in February and March and into April, beyond just the tariffs. Like people just want to find something to blame it on. So they'll say, oh, tariffs, Well, that's kind of easy and lazy at the same time because oftentimes there's other things going on underneath the surface. And the reality is big institutions will rebalance their portfolios too, right? So insurance companies, pension plans, big retirement plans, basically like defined benefit plans, those can rebalance because they don't want the huge exposure. And that's one of the reasons why, it's all connected. If you own mutual funds can do the same thing. So institutional investors is what we're referring to. Well, if mutual funds rebalance, there's another unintended consequence. So I've got a client who we were working on a tax mitigation strategy, and we call it Roth Done Right because we want to make sure that we're doing this in a very strategic, purposeful manner.
Nice.
And so we're moving money from the tax deferred bucket to the tax free bucket, and we'll pay the tax bill out of the taxable bucket. And so, because we don't want, there's a mathematically kind of ideal balance we're targeting in those first two buckets. The problem is, when he started out, he worked with one of those big brand name, big box firms, and he has these individual accounts, him and his wife, and that's where the majority of their money has been located, is in taxable accounts that are subject to annual 1099s. And in 2020, this is crazy, Jeff. Like, I'll be honest, we got smoked this year because of what happened. And like, it wasn't that bad, but our plan, usually we're like circling O'Hare. If, like, we make a projection on where we think we're going to be with taxes. If we're managing the entire plan, we're going to be pretty darn close the vast majority of the time. I was off by $25,000 this year. Why? Because in 2023, his capital gain distributions were $20,000. And so I figured, well, I don't know what they're going to be next year. I'm going to build in a $20,000 buffer. So I assumed they'd be 40. They were 64. And we didn't trade anything. So we didn't buy or sell anything in his portfolio. But because those big institutions do turn their portfolio over and rebalance, they had sold a bunch of stocks that were owned inside that portfolio. They then passed and realized the gains. They then passed that down to the individual shareholders, right? Certificate holders, so to speak. And so in November or December, at the end of the year, where it's tough to really do anything about it, they pay out, they say, oh, we're going X dividend and we're paying out a capital gain. And they pay these capital gains out to the end user, so to speak. And then they tag you with the tax bill. And so his capital gain distributions were $44,000 higher 1 year to the next. And so you got to make sure you're using the right tool in the right account. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really difficult to do a proper, Roth or tax mitigation strategy using some of these things that we're talking about.
If it sounds good, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Roth done right, huh? Did you trademark that? It's a pretty good idea.
No, I took it from somebody else who I don't think trademarked it, so I hope I don't get a letter in the mail.
No, I'm sure you won't.
Yeah.
866-295-5146. Call Stonebridge, sit down, see if you have a Roth opportunity, see if you need some rebalancing. It is springtime, and talk to the guys. It doesn't matter where you're hearing this message. They're able to help you, spanning the Midwest to Sioux Falls even. You guys have an office, and that's exciting stuff. Omaha, Lincoln, Grand Island, Kearney. Where else? What am I forgetting?
Brule.
Nope. And mobile Stonebridge.
Got the van.
Oh man, that's my first advertiser, Stonebridge Wealth Systems.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Like the Scooby-Doo van. Mm-hmm. Casey Kasem. Mm-hmm. Shaggy.
I need to get that sound effect. Do you have the Shaggy sound effect?
No.
Tim, you need that for your little board there at the office in Lincoln. All right.
Yep.
Do you have anything else queued up? No? Okay. He's a non-participant today. I thought I'd get a little bit of sound effect out of him. Because all I have, is the boxing bell.
Yeah. That's just me.
That's a
all I
good one.
have.
You're fine.
All right. That's pretty good. Okay. Dollar cost averaging. What does this mean? Dollar cost averaging, Mr. Gove.
What dollar cost averaging means is, if you look at your 401k, for example, if you're contributing to a 401k and you're doing it every pay period, you're making contributions.
Yes.
You're dollar cost averaging in. That means instead of just taking a year's worth of 401k contributions and dumping it all in on one day, you're spreading it out over time. This is typically a good idea because you're buying shares at different prices. So like when the market goes down, like it is right now, it's a good opportunity because you're putting money in and you're buying more shares that should appreciate over time. So that's an advantage of a down market. Some people, right now are asking me, is it a good time to just dump money in the market because it is down? It could be. It could be trying to find the bottom. Mm-hmm. Who knows? I don't have that crystal ball, so I like the idea of dollar cost averaging in. I do have clients get the money in their account. You can put it in a money market, for example, and then we can dollar cost average in from there, just so the money's there. If the market does go down on a certain day, you can invest more money. Mm-hmm. But that's what dollar cost averaging is.
Okay, thank you for explaining that to me.
You're
I was
welcome.
a little bit out in the dark on that. on that particular concept. You're listening to Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge, reachable at 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. You don't want to be panic selling when the market goes down, obviously. But on the other hand, you don't want to miss out on something that could be a good opportunity for you and your family, right? It's just one part of the toolkit.
Yeah, I went on the detonator at Worlds of Fun. I think I get to call myself an astronaut now by the way that these terms have shifted. I just want to point that out.
Okay. World of Detonator.
Yeah.
I was waiting to see how you were going to relate that back to dollar cost averaging. Like, did you go in
Doesn't
a little
matter.
bit?
No,
You went a little bit in?
I was up there and I was weightless at the top.
Yeah, you're an astronaut then.
Okay.
That's the determining factor.
Okay.
Weightlessness.
Did you do a little ceremony at the bottom before you got on the ride? Everybody
A little bit, yeah. And then I
genuflecting?
kissed the
Well, what about-
ground when I got back down, and I realized that some other kid upchucked probably the day before, right there.
What about swimming then? I mean, if I'm weightless when I'm swimming, does that count?
Oh.
Am I still an astronaut?
You're just training to be an astronaut. That's why they like for the International Space Station, they go in water because of the
But
floating.
aren't they astronauts at that point?
Not. They haven't been christened. It's like a boat that's been built, but it hasn't sailed.
You got to do the champagne thing on the side of the boat.
Yeah.
But
That's
the
the
queen is
weightlessness, okay.
gone. You can't. Who's going to do the champagne thing? She was the one that christened all ships.
You just play Queen. We are the champions.
All right, that's fair enough. Fair
Okay.
enough. All right. So here we are. Let's see. We're going to take questions and answers next on the show. Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems, reachable on the 866 number that we like to give out so that you can book a sit-down meeting or, gosh, you guys even do We'll Come to You meetings. But many offices choose from in a virtual meeting if you just want to do a phone call. That's fine, too, on a get-to-know-you. 866-295-5146.
Did you ever think your retirement would be shared with our government? It's true. Your traditional 401k, IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts are like a partnership with the IRS. Simply put, they want their tax dollars, and you have them. With our latest tax calculator, you can plug in your own numbers while sitting at home. To find out what your future tax liability could be, scan the QR code or go to stonebridgetaxbill.com.
Here we go. There are a couple of ideas, scenarios from the guys at Stonebridge Wealth Systems. 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Maybe the listener is hearing something that's ringing a bell or saying, hey, this is exactly what I'm facing. I need to call the fellas, 866-295-5146. This is a retiree with a Roth IRA and wants to know if there are any restrictions on when they can access their tax-free funds. This is very good information because you can't, well, you guys tell me the story. How can they make the most of a Roth tax advantage situation? Tim.
I get this one good. So Roth IRAs, there's two different 5-year clocks. So before I get into the weeds, let's just put it this way, instead of getting into the weeds, just know that if you're putting money in a Roth IRA, that's a retirement account. That means it's designated for retirement, which means in order to take a qualified distribution, you have to have the account open and funded for at least 5 years and be age 59 and a half or older. Okay? If you take money before that, there's a chance that you're going to pay a penalty if you're not 59 and a half. And if it hasn't been open for 5 years, you could pay a penalty in tax even if you are 59 and a half. And so two different 5-year clocks, what we call the forever 5-year clock and the 59 and a half conversion clock. Again, I could get really deep in the weeds on this one, and just people's going to get paralysis by analysis. Just let's leave it at this. If you're looking at doing a Roth IRA and you want to know more about the rules, that'd be a reason to give us a call. I will tell you that, yeah, there is a potential. There's a reason why we use Roth IRAs, for example, for education funding. If people are maybe not huge fans of just doing 529s because they're worried that, well, what if my kid doesn't go to a school or gets a Regent scholarship or something like that and they don't need to use all of the money? I don't want it stuck in there. Secure 2.0 kind of alleviated some of those fears to a degree. But some people will use a Roth IRA instead because they're like, well, that way it's still my money. And if they don't use it, it's still, and it's in a tax advantage, tax-free growth account for me later on. And you can always get your principal. So I put $7,000 in a Roth IRA for 2024, well, I can always get to the $7,000 tax and penalty free because that's my basis. But to get to the earnings, so principal comes out first, conversion second, earnings last. So there's specific order. So here's the thing, and I want to make sure people understand this. The way that a good financial advisor is going to be able to help you be more successful and move the needle the most, it's because they're going to understand the nuances in the laws when it comes to taxes, understand the rules, making sure that things are updated. It can be pretty complex, like some of the things I'm talking about now with the 5-year rules, and there's 2 different clocks, and you got to kind of manage both of those. Making sure that clock gets started, because if you have a Roth 401k at work and then you roll money out to a Roth IRA, the Roth 401k does not start the 5-year clock on the Roth IRA, okay? So you do a 401k rollover at age 60 and you're thinking, oh, I'll just roll it to an IRA, and then I've got this big project, and this would be a bad idea to do anyway, but I got this big project that I've been wanting tax-free money for, and you cash that whole thing out. If there was any earnings, you know, the rollover itself is going to come in as basis, but if there was any earnings, let's say a year later you do that cash out, you're going to have a problem on the earnings, okay? You're going to have to pay tax on the earnings in a Roth. Why? Because you didn't start your 5-year clock. So a good financial advisor would see that ahead of time and be like, okay, you're going to retire in 5 years. Even if you don't have the cash flow to fully fund a Roth IRA, let's put $100 in a Roth IRA. And what did we do? We started the clock. And if you did it, let's say you did it on April 14th, 2024 for 2020, or April 14th, 2025 for 2024, your 5-year clock starts on January 1st of the year for which you are making the contribution. So if it was a prior year contribution, I don't even have to have it open for 5 years technically, but I'm going to get credit for a year and 3.5 months, right? Because I did a prior year contribution on April 14th for 2024. My 5-year clock starts counting and ticking on January 1st, 2024. So this is the way a good financial advisor is going to be able to help you, is understanding the nuances like this in the tax code to make sure that you're using it to your advantage, because the number one, by far, largest threat to retirement income security today is the threat of rising taxes.
Wow. That was a good explanation. 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Use that number and book yourself a sit-down to see if you're going to be using your Roth monies appropriately. We've got a person here considering naming a family member as their power of attorney, worried about burdening them with financial decisions. Oh, goodness. How can they ensure that their wishes are respected without creating undue stress on their loved one? Jeff.
Yeah, this is a good question. John and I in Grand Island just did an estate planning workshop, and this is part of what we cover in that workshop. If you're looking for some of those dates, if you go to our website, stonebridgeiwm.com, you can find upcoming workshops in your area, which would be Kearney, Grand Island, Lincoln, Omaha.
Right.
The biggest thing for, not burdening someone, it is a burden. Let's call it what it is. It is, it's not a fun thing to have to do to handle somebody else's finances. Mm-hmm. But obviously this is somebody that you care about. So you want to have somebody that you care about and that cares about you, making these decisions, but making sure everything is in order, making sure that you're communicating well with whoever's handling your affairs, that this is what I have. These are the bills that have to be paid beforehand, is really important. It comes down to communication. The less you communicate, the bigger burden it is. I've got a client, and I use this as an example all of the time in our workshops, up in Ord, where his mother unfortunately had a stroke, and she didn't have all of this stuff in place, and she was nonverbal from the stroke. So she's now in a nursing home. And the way things were left, she had a stack, it's probably a foot high, of old statements and long-term care policies, life insurance policies, that not only did we have to go through, but we had to get the power of attorney in place before we could call the companies, because they're not going to talk to the son until that's in place. So if she would have had that in place to begin with, so then it's just sending the doctor's note that says she's not capable of making financial decisions. But also, if she would have got rid of all of the old statements, because Jackie, if you found a statement, from your mother or from your sister that said there's $25,000 in this account, the statement's 5 years old. But are you just going to throw that statement away and assume that it's closed, or are you going to call and check on $25,000? You got to
follow it up, yes.
Yeah, so you have to make those phone calls. So just making sure you're not leaving a mess. You're leaving a legacy, not a mess, is really important. So make sure you clean everything up, have a list. We have a packet that we put together here where you can, fill in all this information. It's digital, so we can email it to you if you give us a call. Who your attorney is, who does your taxes, where the life insurance carriers, the
it's called when a loved one dies.
It's called what?
When a loved one dies.
Yeah. So the when a loved one dies report.
Okay.
But if you hand that to somebody and it's clean, it's going to be much, much easier. Again, it is still a burden. I mean, it is what it is, but it's going to be a lot easier. It took us hours to call through all those statements.
I bet.
She had like 4 long-term care policies that she had bought one, and then another guy showed up at her house and sold her another one.
Bless her.
And then another guy showed up and sold her another one. It was kind of out of control, but that was the primary concern, is getting her long-term care policy in place or active and starting to pay. But yeah, it was a mess, and you don't want to leave that for whoever you determined.
It's not a sexy topic, but Stonebridge can help you get this ball rolling and at least putting all the facts in one place. 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. When you call, ask if you can have a copy of the When a Loved One Dies report. You just got to start it. It's not fun, but to get powers of attorney in place, it's one of the most important things you can do. In addition to, might as well get your will and your trust together, especially if you are in the financial red zone. I hate to say middle-aged, but close to retirement and things of this nature, because we're not promised tomorrow, and we've seen it. We've seen it in the last 5 years. Loved ones being put in this position, or we're in charge of taking care of someone, and we still have kids in the home. This happens a lot. The sandwich generation has suffered a lot, so it's a good idea to get all this stuff together. I'm glad that you offer that. 866-295-5146. I don't have too much time left over, but I'm going to throw you this one. A 50-year-old couple with $200,000 in cash, thinking about how inflation is going to affect the cost of their health care in retirement. So, considering investing in a health care mutual fund to hedge against rising medical costs, is this a good strategy? Does that sound good to you, Tim?
I mean, it's a reasonable strategy. Intuitively, what I would tell you is depending on the type of account you're investing in it, again, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer here. What about the taxes? Because you have to look at your tax equivalent yield. So a lot of times if you put money, we like to use life insurance as a long-term care tool, because life insurance, you never have to pay, you never have to live with the idea of paying for something you hope you never need. And so like if I put money if I put that money into a life insurance policy, because this is cash, so I'm assuming it's not cash inside of a IRA, right? Well, if you put into a healthcare mutual fund and that has that turnover I was talking about earlier, and you get those capital gain distributions, you could be paying substantial taxes. And so even if you made 10%, you might only net 6 or 7 because of the tax consequence. So instead, what I look at is, well, if I put this instead, let's say either a lump sum or maybe over 5 years, I meter that into a life insurance policy, I might be able to not only get, let's say I put $100,000 into a life insurance policy, I might get, depending on the type, $144,000 available for long-term care, or as a death benefit. I might get $288,000 available for long-term care, and it might also have an inflation rider on it. So right there, I'm getting that leveraging effect where $100,000 bought $288,000 worth of benefit, and it grows at 3% per year. If you look at your tax equivalent internal rate of return, in other words, if you look at the yield you'd have to get on that mutual fund in order to have the same dollar amount available, let's say you were 65, 20 years later at age 85, you're probably going to need to net around 9 or 10% per year to have that same dollar amount available. So to address this concern, why not do a little bit of both? Why not have a plan in place that if you never need long-term care, you die 40 years from now, 30 years from now, peacefully in your sleep, having never needed any sort of assistance. Any money left over is going to go to your beneficiaries tax-free. But if you do need long-term care, there's a provision built in there for you to draw on the death benefit tax-free and extend it probably for another 2 or 3 years. So you got 4 or 5 years of coverage, and you still have some liquidity on the sideline in case you need it.
Wonderful. 866-295-5146. Call and ask Tim about that life insurance that he's talking about, because maybe you don't have this understanding of what life insurance is. 866-295-5146, or what it can do for you. All right. Stonebridge Wealth Systems on Retirement Compass Radio Show, signing off for this week.